So, hi, and welcome to this little panel with some amazing child psychologists, very experienced educational child psychologists, and just going to share some wisdom and knowledge for families coming back to Israel now, maybe with some small kids, people who left the country. Maybe even 6-7 weeks ago, or maybe even before, and haven't been here for everything that's been going on. Just how to talk to the children, how to prepare them, how to tackle some of these subjects in the best way possible. So I'm going to open it up. We have Mark Stitch here, Robert Pick, and Robert Chernick. Bob Chernick. All right. Share with us your knowledge, wise ones.
Thank you for having us, Sarah.
My pleasure.
I think first of all, it's important to mention the three of us are experienced psychologists, but we're living through unusual times, times that Israel has never faced before, and the tension is in the air. It's while there might not currently under the ceasefire be an immediate threat, the tension is in the air. It's all around, and I imagine that families who left the country for a period of time at the start of the war and came back, they found Israel a different place than the one they left or the one that they were used to.
100%.
And nobody picks up tension like kids.
Little sponges.
Yeah, they can smell it.
So what can we do as parents to try to help our kids? Well, my first advice would be don't let the kids come back cold without any previous discussion. They need to hear from you as parents a few reassuring things, facts, but also appropriate to their age. You don't have to explain everything. Some people have said that there were prisoners in our jails and the other side wanted them back. Arabs wanted them back. And they thought that if they took some of our people, that they could then swap and do a deal like that. And that's what we're in the middle of at the moment, trying to get our people back. That's, I think, it's fairly innocuous. The kids really, in the end, when all is said and done, what they want to know is, are we safe?
Mm-hmm.
Can you protect us? Are people going to come and take us away? That's the biggest fear at the moment. And parents are being worried about the same thing, and you get separation anxiety. Kids don't want to be left on their own. So once you come into the airport, and Bob was talking about this, what did you see, Bob, when you came into the airport?
I didn't see it, but I've heard from people coming in that there are placards. There are those kidnap signs posted along the whole way as people enter the airport and also as they leave the airport, both directions, that there are all those signs posted. So
I think you can also pretty well guess that even though you might not have wanted the kids to see all this on TV and follow it, in the airport and everywhere around there, and the taxi drivers and everything, it's all going to come up on the radio and on the TV. So the kids shouldn't go into this cold. They should have had some previous discussion and reassurance from the parents about this.
I think.
Sorry, I was just going to say, there's probably, like, for different aged kids, like, different information that you would give different ages. Like, you
absolutely
wouldn't to like a 10-11-year-old as you would to like a 4 or 5-year-old.
Usually the key for talking to children is explain it just as much until they say, okay, I understand. Not don't get into too many details. Details can scare them.
I think one of the major goals is to convey to children that we're doing everything possible to provide a safe environment for you,
right?
Both at home and at school. Parents have more direct control over the atmosphere they provide at home. And something you mentioned before about exposure to media, I think it's probably best to limit kids' exposure to media. The news is going on all day long, and I'm certain that kids' exposure to that is not something that adds to their level of self-confidence and security. You said before, Bob, when families return, it's important to give them some basic information about what's happening to a degree that it's age appropriate. Also, to give them some very concrete information. If there's a siren, right now we have a ceasefire, but if there's a siren, then we go to a security room and make sure that they're familiar with where the security room is, and present that as a matter of course. You know, it's this is the drill, and I think it's not only the message you convey in words, but the atmosphere that you convey in the nonverbal atmosphere that the way you convey it.
Do exactly what you're told to do, and then everything will be okay.
Yeah, that's the message. That's the message.
Well, most of the kids, I mean, if they're coming back to Israel, have experienced this before, you know, like the sirens and
Yes.
it's almost just
Hmm.
regular life growing up in Israel, isn't it? Unfortunately, but it's more,
Hmm.
this is a next level of um what we were talking about, of just this tension and this dealing with this kidnap thing. Like, I remember when I was a kid, they taught us in school, you know, about strangers, and I mean, it was the most
Hmm.
terrifying thing.
Yes.
That was the most terrifying thing, and how much they prepared us, and stranger danger, and if people come to give sweets, and I mean that, you know, that you could be taken. It was terrifying. um with my little nieces the other day, who just came back. The oldest one is 8 and the smallest one is 5, and the oldest one knows a little bit about the Khatufim. And then the 5-year-old said something, "What's the Khatufim?" And I was like, "Oh, it's just Khatifim. We're talking about Khatifim, Bamba and chocolate, you know what I mean?" And just like change the subject.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
What's a
Well,
Khatif?
yeah, be interesting to get when they get back to school and to
Tell
get
them enough that they seem to be satisfied. Don't over detail things.
Yes. I think
Um,
it's also important to listen to children's comments and their questions, and be there for them, and be ready to address and answer whatever questions or comments they have, and also provide opportunities for them to express themselves, whether that's through drawings, through movement, through
stories.
playing, stories.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, yeah.
No, you're right. Like listening, because if you actually really listen and attentive, you can hear how much they already know, how much they want to know, how they're feeling about it. What
Well, it's a question of listening to the feeling and not the words.
right?
You know, what's the feeling
Yes.
behind what the kid's saying? What is it fear? Is he concerned about us? Is he trying to?
you just have to know that you're always there for them whenever they have the
Yeah.
necessity to talk to someone. There's someone there to listen to them.
Which brings us
Hmm.
on, I'd say, to the next topic, which is so related to it, which is the role the grandparents can play.
Hmm.
Uh,
Hmm.
because we talk about how parents can help their kids. The grandparents have the dilemma. They want to be able to help. They don't want to get in the way of the parents. They don't want to countermand whatever the parents are doing. They don't want to ask too many questions sometimes. They're embarrassed, but how do we help? And there's a big role for grandparents in this. First of all, grandparents can assure their children. That's kind of important. They can give their parents a break, a much needed break. Many of the people that we've spoken to have not been out very much. The kids have been with them, have been at school for a long time. The parents are needing a break, and grandparents can pitch in and help on that. There's experience and just life experience the grandparents have they can share as well.
I told you about it. I gave the example of the grandfather who said, "Oh, I know. I don't know how to talk to the kid. I just hold him and say everything's going to be all right." And that's the kid calms down after that.
If that's enough for the kid, that's brilliant. If you can get away with that little.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I think that's a demonstration of responding non-verbally
Yeah.
to
Right.
children, and conveying your love, your support, and conveying a sense of security to a child.
It's interesting to
I
see.
think.
It's interesting to see when the Chatufim were released at the moment. I've been watching this carefully on TV. The Chayalot that are chatting to them are getting down on same eye level with the kids,
Yes.
chatting to them and making them gently increasing the physical contact as well with them, not jumping on them, not hugging them, gently taking it at the kids' pace. I think that's important.
The soldiers were told not to answer questions the kids ask,
even if they know the answer.
Right.
That's right. Like whereas
I think grandparents have an opportunity. They have an opportunity to provide support in perhaps a unique way that can certainly add to a child's sense of security. Parents, I found that parents are just filled with so many things going on. It could be that that the male, the husband in the family, is in miluim, and I'm sure both of them are dealing with issues of parnasa, of their financial stability, and all kinds of other issues. And I think that the grandparents have a unique position, having already a base of a relationship with their grandchildren, that they can convey the love and support and attention, maybe in a way that is additional to the love and support they're receiving from their parents.
correct. And also grandparents, I always say, are a safety deposit box of memories for the family. They have memories of what the kids were like as kids, and they can
Yes.
feed this on. We've been through this before. We've been through the Gulf War. We remember all this. Grandparents can memory factories.
The three of us are all grandparents, so we're also experienced as grandparents. I have found that I have been making more of an effort to really be attentive to my grandchildren when they come over. I'm always attentive to them, but you're already always busy with this or that, and I've made an effort to be even more attentive. I have, for one example, I have one of these books of art projects that's been sitting on the shelf for years and years, and somehow my granddaughter and myself have found that. And each week we open to a different page and do one of those art projects, something that we didn't get to, with the routine of life being so busy during normal times, we didn't have time to get to it. And now I'm making a point to try to get to things that I didn't before.
But we as grandparents also have special talents, which kids we don't expect to have at that stage. Languages, for example, other languages. Some grandparents, not me, are very artistic. My wife is. And I can share that with the kids too. But the kids are brilliant. The kids equally are talented and can teach us stuff.
Absolutely.
Setting up a computer. Anything electronic, kids seem to master it very quickly. So they've got special talents they can teach us as well, even though we're old fogies.
That's another thing. I'm assuming that during these times too, kids are on screens a lot more, because they've been off school, because they're home, because the stress. So the parents, I'm assuming there's a lot more screen time going on.
Yeah,
because they're home more. I don't know if you have any tips or.
Well, I talked before about the role of adults, parents and grandparents, establishing a home atmosphere that conveys security, and I think and limiting exposure to the media. We've made an effort to limit our grandchildren's exposure, even to my grandson likes to watch those NBA games, video games, and whatnot. We're trying to limit his exposure to screen time, and instead replace it with movement, sports, art projects, so that we're trying to get him involved, get both of them involved in doing other things than being glued to the screen.
That's important.
Let me say again that some kids express themselves better in drawing than they can in words. What they're feeling, they
Absolutely.
can show you. They can. If they're afraid of something, they can show it on a page. A lot easier than finding sentences to express themselves. So that's a possibility.
That's right.
Look, grandparents also have this role of pinuk, of pampering, you know, and that's okay as long as you're not directly going against all the rules that the parents have set. You want to try to keep the same ground rules, but we'll give it extra little TV time, a little extra snack, whatever it is. That's part of the grandparents' role too. And it's that. Many parents ask me, well, look, when kids in our house, we have this and this rule. When they go to grandma's house, that rule doesn't exist. I found that the easiest way to avoid conflict on this one is very simple. When you're in your house, it's your rules. When it's in grandma's house, it's their rules. You know,
AKA
make the rules subject to where you are. That way, you don't come into direct conflict.
Going back to what Bob CHERNICK said before, one of the functions of a grandparent is to reassure the parents that they're capable, that they're competent, that they're doing a job.
Competent.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a really good point.
Often like.
We talked before about families returning from overseas.
Yeah.
I found that the families were returning from overseas. While they were overseas, they were with their kids 24 hours a day with no educational program. They were literally with the kids 24 hours a day. And I know that they need a break. And Bob, what you mentioned before about how grandparents can be supportive to the parents. One way is to give them some breathing space and breathing time by spending time with the grandchildren, so that the parents can get time to themselves and recoup.
Yeah, yeah, and financial help maybe as well, which might go under the radar, because a lot of people haven't been working recently in the performing arts, in the restaurant, and service industries. People haven't been working. So a lot of else. So parents might be a little bit reluctant, a little bit hesitant to ask grandparents for help, but be aware there might be a need.
My daughter was very happy that the kids could go back to school. They had a break.
Yes.
They have to be with the kids all day long. They didn't know what to do with them.
I'm sure the kids were glad about it as well.
Yeah.
They see their friends also.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's the best thing for them, isn't it? Being around with their friends. And I also I loved seeing some of these kids who were coming back, that they were bringing their animals, like having their dogs, and I was just thinking how animals are so healing as well. I mean,
they give 100% love all the time. Animals, right?
Yeah.
Yes, 100%. Yeah, that's true. I forgot that kids who were abroad have been away from their pets.
Yeah, like little Emily, they brought her dogs to her. I mean, to me, I just felt like, wow, that is probably the most amazing thing. Like beyond having her father there and her sister, but like have her animals. I just thought that was
much better than dolls, right? And hugging it.
Yeah, exactly.
And to think about what does an animal do, a pet does. What he's doing is giving 100% love and acceptance,
unconditional
love, and conveying it in a nonverbal, physical way. The way you described before, Mark, the grandfather who was just hugging the child who was released as a hostage. And I think that's one of the contributions of having a pet, that it's a beautiful experience of receiving that love.
How's Piksie doing?
Look, she's here. She's supporting. She's a support animal.
I think it's important for parents and grandparents to set an example. It's not so much what you say or do; it's what you do, and set an example of being confident that we're living in a place where everything is being done to maintain our safety. These are unusual times, and the army and the police are all over, but we're doing everything possible to ensure our safety. And to convey that, I'm purposely expressing it in a calm way, to convey it in a calm and not an hysterical way.
Yeah.
And if I hope it doesn't happen, but if we do go back to having to go to safe rooms, that when you go to the safe room, you go not in a hysterical manner, but do it in a, okay, this is a matter of course, this is what we do.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Good point, Bob. Good. Okay, Sarah, I think that's pretty well covered it.
Now I'm going to go and call my daughter and see if everything's all right with the kids.
Oh,
Okay.
Being a good enough grandfather.
Okay.
Glad you joined us, Mark. Glad you joined us.
Yes.
Thank you.
Sarah, thank you for initiating this.
guys,
And
thank you.